Hello, religion thinkers. Today, talking about what religion means, I'd like to address the question of Christianity and what are some basic principles that might unite Christianity across the world. It has been, I think, somewhat unfortunate that there are so many different divisions, so many different sects and different opinions about Christianity. Of course, with over 2 billion adherents, that may be somewhat natural. Anytime a religion has a founder, a basic set of ideas, when you have a number of increasing adherents, they're going to have different opinions about that, and that should be accepted, and that should be perfectly good. But what can possibly unite Christians? And here I'd like to introduce 4 ideas. The idea of God as reality, number 1. Number 2, the idea of Christ as a redeemer. Number 3, the importance of the morality that Christ taught. And 4th, hopefully the idea of freedom. Now I think we can talk about more than that, but let's begin there. The first point I'd like to talk about that can unite Christians, hopefully worldwide, is the simple idea of God as a reality. That the world is created, that we are created. We have a special relationship to God. We have a meaning to our lives. We are not just arbitrary pieces of matter. Yes, evolution may be a process that we can affirm, but if you are a Christian believer, you would think that it's something that is also meaningful, perhaps a process that God began. So God as a reality in our life, as a personal God that we can pray to, that we can look to for guidance, I think that has to be undeniably a starting point of departure. God is a reality, the world is meaningful, and that without that, we are somewhat diminished, you might say, in terms of our full understanding of ourselves or our morality. I think that's a very significant point of Christian departure. The second point that I would like to make is the point of Christ as a redeemer. Now, Jesus is without a doubt one of the most controversial persons in history. You'll have atheists and many critics who don't even believe he exists. You'll have Muslims who will see Christ as a prophet but not as divine. You'll have Jews who do not recognize Jesus conventionally as a prophet or as divine either, perhaps. Other Jews who may see a good message in some of the things that Jesus said. So he's a controversial person, but what can Christians say about Jesus minimally? Well, most Christians would accept Jesus as some idea as part of the Trinity. Not all Christians, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But minimally, Christ as a redeemer, someone who enters the world, offers us not only a moral message, but by his sacrifice, by his death and resurrection, shows the overcoming of sin, the overcoming of sinfulness, and the possible overcoming of death. And that is, I think, the real hopeful point of departure. Christ as a redeemer who shows that there is a hope beyond this life, a hope beyond our sinful selves, that we can redeem ourselves and move to a better point of departure with God's grace and hopefully with God's blessings. I think that is a very significant point of Christian thinking, Christ as a redeemer. So the third part of Christianity that I'd like to talk about today is the morality of Christianity, and there's far more than I can fit into a short video here. But I could talk about at least a few important points, and I think one of them is the double love commandment, which in its structure really represents part of the 10 commandments. The first 4 of the 10 commandments represents our relationship with God. The last 6 our relationship with human beings. And the double love commandment says that we should love God, we should pray to God, we should honor God and feel God as a reality in our lives. And the last 6, to love our neighbor as ourselves, to do the right thing and treat them honorably, not lie, not kill, not steal, not commit adultery. And if we did many of these things most of the time, you could argue the world would be a better place. And a lot of other religions, I think, can support that and can agree with these ideas of Christianity. What else may be important in Christianity? I think to mention at least one other significant parable, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Jesus talks in very simple, striking parables often. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, a man is on a trip, he's beaten up by robbers, he's left for dead or near dead on the roadside. two people passing by, a priest and a Levite, and they are unwilling to help the man who is beaten and in need. The third person, the ethnic other, the unexpected person to help him, is the Samaritan. He will actually attend to the man's wounds and helps him, brings him to an inn, pays for his upkeep, and does the right thing. So this is a very simple, striking parable. We may not often do the right thing when we are confronted with this situation in our daily lives or a similar situation. We may not be there to the call of need of the other, but this is the simple morality which Jesus is trying to teach, which you could say even a 5-year-old could understand the importance of that parable. Now, there's so much more in terms of the striking morality that Jesus has to offer. Some of it may be controversial, without a doubt. But for Christians, there is a thinking that it is a call to elevate ourselves, to be better than we were yesterday, to try and raise the bar to a higher moral standard. And the last point that I'd like to talk about is the idea of freedom. I think, from my point of view, I hope we are transcendentally free. We are not just the sum products of our biology. We might be. I mean, I could be speaking these words to you right now based on certain chemical processes in my brain and the structure of my body, the genetic composition of my mind. But the Christian understanding, the idea that we have a soul that many other religions would share, is that we have a capacity to choose beyond that. I go home in the afternoon and I can choose to stop by the supermarket, whether I want to or not. When I enter the supermarket, I have the capacity to choose amongst many of different things that I can buy. I confront a beverage, I can buy a beer, a soda, or a water. I have the choice. That very simple act that we have the capacity to choose seems to indicate that we have something inside of us, a soul, a ghost in the machine, something beyond our mere genetic makeup and our sociological upbringing. This is the hope, at least, the idea of a very real freedom. Because I often think, what are the point of giving commands and commandments in Christianity or in any other religion if you don't have free will and the capacity to choose them or not to choose them? This is a really important idea, I think, in Christianity and many other religions. Free will, the capacity to choose, that we are inside ourselves something more than just biological stuff. This is the real hope of religion, not just for Christianity, but for many other religions as well. So that's a brief introduction to 4 ideas which I think Christians can agree upon. There may be much more than that. Those are at least 4 things that come to my mind today. So thanks for watching. Please look forward to the next video.